Do you use HTTPS for your SAS environments? Or are you thinking about deploying HTTPS to your environments? SAS has enhanced the way that certificates are managed with the third maintenance release of SAS 9.4. Keep watching and learn about these enhancements and how they can affect you. I'm Stuart Rogers with SAS, and this is the Technical Insights and Expertise series. Within this session, we'll look at why you need to be concerned with managing certificates, what types of certificates we need to be concerned about, what the new SAS Security Certificate Framework brings to your third maintenance release of 9.4 environments. We'll look at the SAS Deployment Manager tasks we can use to manage those certificates. And finally, we'll examine the impact on the deployment process. So why do we need to be concerned about certificates? The different SAS components interacting with the SAS middle tier need to be able to establish who signed the TLS certificate used by the middle tier. Establishing who signed the certificate involves establishing the trust chain back to a trusted root certificate authority. This process impacts a number of different SAS components, and these components reside on different tiers within the environment. There are server tier components deployed to the metadata server, compute server, and middle tier itself, and then there are components running out on the client tier as well. A number of the different components have different ways of establishing trust. Some components run within a SAS Foundation session, whilst others are Java components. With the third maintenance release of SAS 9.4, SAS has made a number of enhancements to simplify the process used to establish trust and make the application of this more consistent across multiple platforms and technologies. So what types of TLS certificates is this process aimed at? For the majority of cases, we are looking at two types of certificate. The first are self-signed certificates, where the certificate generated has been signed by itself. The second are site-signed certificates. These are certificates that have been signed by a certificate authority internal to the organization. Most large organizations will have some established process and mechanism to generate certificates for use wholly within the organization. The first part of the enhancements introduced with the third maintenance release of SAS 9.4 is the SAS Security Certificate Framework. The SAS Security Certificate Framework is a new component. The addition of this new component allows SAS to deliver the Mozilla bundle of Trusted Root Certificate Authority certificates. The new component will be installed alongside the SAS private Java runtime environment. Wherever the private JRE is installed, the new SAS Security Certificate Framework will also be installed. This means the new component will be installed on all the different tiers within an environment. It will be installed on each of the server tiers, from the metadata to the middle tier, and it will also be installed on each client machine where the SAS private JRE is deployed. Note, it will not be deployed with just Enterprise Guide or the SAS add-in for Microsoft Office. The SAS Security Certificate Framework provides a bundle of trusted CA certificates. As such, this bundle of CA certificates should only be managed using the SAS Deployment Manager. With the third maintenance release of SAS 9.4, there should be no manual changes to the trust store used by the majority of SAS components. To facilitate the standard approach across platforms, additional SAS Deployment Manager tasks have been defined. These tasks fall under the heading of managing the trusted CA bundle within the SAS Deployment Manager. There are two separate tasks defined. The first task allows you to add certificates to the bundle, whilst the second task allows you to remove certificates you've previously added with the SAS Deployment Manager. As part of the Add task, the certificate specified is added to the SAS Security Certificate Framework. Therefore, as part of the Add task, there is some checking of the name of the certificate file to be added. You cannot add a certificate if the name of the file matches certain reserved names. Those reserved names are cacerts.jks or .pem and trustedcerts.jks or .pem. Next, let us look at how the SAS Deployment Manager tasks fit into the workflow you'll need to complete. In this diagram, we have three swim lanes. The first covers SAS non-Java applications running on either Unix or ZOS. So for example, a workspace server on a Linux machine interacting with the laser authorization service running in the middle tier. For such a process, the trustedcerts.pem file within the SAS Security Certificate Framework is used as the trust store. And this file is maintained using the tasks in the SAS Deployment Manager. The second swim lane covers the SAS Java applications running on Unix and Windows. An example here would be the SAS Management Console interacting with the SAS Content Server. For these Java applications, the relevant trust store is the JSSE CA certs file within the SAS private JRE. Again, the contents of this trust store are managed with the SAS Deployment Manager tasks. The final swim lane again covers SAS non-Java applications, but this time running on Windows. Such a process could either be a server process, like a workspace server running on a Windows server, or SAS Enterprise Guide running on a client machine. For these processes, we rely on the Windows System Trust Store, which is not managed by the SAS Deployment Manager tasks. I like this image taken from the SAS 9.4 Intelligence Platform Installation and Configuration Guide, since it gives us a nice overview of what needs to be done for each machine in our SAS environment. Now we will use a Windows machine to walk through the tasks in the SAS Deployment Manager. We will look at the files referenced in the previous diagram before and after running the task to add a certificate to the trust store. Here we can see the default contents of the SAS Security Certificate Framework. We have the cacerts.jks and .pem files, which are the Mozilla bundle of trusted root CA certificates. Then we also have the trustedcerts.jks and .pem, which before running the SAS Deployment Manager tasks just contain a copy of the Mozilla bundle. Note that both the .jks files are 188 kilobytes in size. Now let's check the SAS private Java runtime environment. Within the SAS private JRE, we can see the JSSE CA certs file. As with the .jks files in the SAS Security Certificate Framework, the file is 188 KB, and the date of the file corresponds to when the SAS deployment was completed on this machine. Now let's run the SAS Deployment Manager. I've already started the SAS Deployment Manager, and here we can see the different tasks available to us. As we scroll down, we can see the two Manage Trusted CA Bundle tasks we spoke about earlier. In this example, we will use the Add task to add a certificate to the Trusted bundle. Note, the certificate we're going to add needs to be in base64 ASCII format, with either a .pem, .cert or .cer extension. You cannot use the SAS Deployment Manager to add binary format certificates to the trusted bundle. If your certificate is in a binary format, you will need to convert it before using the SAS Deployment Manager add task. For this example, I have an ASCII format certificate generated with OpenSSL. We will browse and select the certificate file. Also remember, we cannot add a file if the file name matches one of those existing files in the SAS Security Certificate Framework. That completes all the information we need to provide to the SAS Deployment Manager. We click Start and the task will run. As we can see, it does not take long to complete. We click Next and then Finish to close out from the SAS Deployment Manager. Now we can look at the results of adding the certificate. So, in the SAS private JRE, we see the modified date on the JSSE CA certs file has changed, and the file size has changed to 189 KB. Let's check the SAS Security Certificate Framework. We can see the certificate we added, ca_cert.pem, has been copied into the directory. The two trusted certs file have their modified dates changed, and the trusted certs.jks is now 189 KB, just like the JSSE CA certs file. Finally, a backup directory has been created. Let's look in there. So when we ran the Deployment Manager task, it created a date timestamped backup copies of the two trusted certs files. This completes the example of using the SAS Deployment Manager to add a certificate to the trusted CA bundle. So what impact do these changes introduced with the third maintenance release of SAS 9.4 have on deploying your SAS 9.4 environment? If you are using a site-signed or self-signed certificate for the SAS web server, you will need to complete the following steps to successfully deploy the SAS middle tier. First, you'll need to complete the installation stage of the SAS Deployment Wizard. We need this to complete and the SAS Deployment Wizard to close before we can move on to the next step. Once the SAS Deployment Wizard has completed the installation and has closed, you can run the SAS Deployment Manager to add the certificate or certificates to the trusted bundle. Then, once the SAS Deployment Manager completes and has been closed, you can run the SAS Deployment Wizard to complete the configuration of the SAS middle tier. Note, this will only enable you to complete the deployment of your SAS environment. To make the environment usable, you will need to repeat the SAS Deployment Manager add task on the other tiers to ensure all the trust stores are updated with the certificate. For more information on using HTTPS with your SAS environment, see the SAS 9.4 Intelligence Platform Installation and Configuration Guide linked below, or the Encryption in SAS 9.4 Guide, also linked below. For details on the SAS Deployment Manager tasks, see the SAS Deployment Wizard and SAS Deployment Manager 9.4 Users Guide, linked below. Thank you, and check back with your Global Enablement and Learning team for more technical insight.